Day one VMware Explore, and we are talking to our good friend from the vSAN team, Mr. Pete Koehler. Pete, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Pete. John? Yeah, no, it's been a good day so far.
Yeah, so I've been excited to talk to you because I know there's a lot of announcements this week, and we're going to be covering all the announcements. But you're Mr. vSAN. You know, I know John's Mr. vSAN as well, but you're definitely Mr. vSAN. And I know you talk to a lot of customers, and so I thought it would be cool to talk about maybe some of the top questions you're getting from customers here at Explore, other places. But I'm sure you've got at least a handful of very common questions around vSAN.
Yeah, you know what? I think we've had a pretty good sampling of it already, just so far. The first day, John and I had a session already.
You're already losing your voice, by the way, so that's a good sign.
I already am, yes. And then a few other Meet the Expert sessions. So there has been some patterns showing up.
Okay.
So yeah, so one of them that really started showing up recently has been, how do I transition from this vSAN original storage architecture over to the Express storage architecture?
Sort of like a migration path,
like
if you will?
migration effort, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a legit question for sure, because they're excited about ESA and they want to move. And so really, you know, what I try to share with our customers is that if they think about it in terms of introducing new hardware, they're going to treat that hardware refresh just as the same way that they would have a 3-tier architecture. They'd be building up that brand new vSAN ESA cluster and simply doing a storage vMotion of those workloads. Okay. And that's really it in a nutshell.
And it's nice because there have been some improvements to vMotion that some people miss, like the import function to where you can cross an SSO boundary. So the vCenter's completely different vCenter. You can rip those VMs. Not everyone's always tracks that you can do a shared nothing vMotion, so you can do the compute as well as the storage at the same time. Like, there's been a lot of subtle improvements, as well as it looks like there's some interesting items being worked on.
For sure, and you know, I think essentially what many of our customers are looking for is, can I do an in-place upgrade from the original storage architecture over to the Express storage architecture? Well, the reality is, no, you can't. The Express storage architecture was built for much higher performing hardware, and you simply need something better than that. And so while we certainly appreciate and understand the ask, and we're looking at new and interesting ways to make that transition easier, right now an in-place upgrade really isn't in the cards.
But it makes sense to use vMotion anyway. Like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Like, we're talking about workloads that people are already familiar with. They're already familiar with vSAN. vMotion over, it seems like a simple answer to me.
Yeah, it really is. And when you think about it in terms of that simple hardware refresh, you just treat it like your other vSphere clusters that you would have.
All right, you hear it from Pete Koehler. All right, what else you got?
There were a number of different questions about how many storage devices should I have in a vSAN host when I'm using ESA. This came up over and over again, actually, just in my recent sessions here, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I maybe hadn't thought that it was that important of an issue to address, but after it came up a few different times, I thought, okay, maybe I was wrong. But when we have the Express storage architecture, we've eliminated a lot of those performance challenges and considerations that we had with the original storage architecture. With the original storage architecture, we sort of trained our users into this idea of you had to factor in all these different things.
Right.
And the reality is, you really don't have to anymore.
No more disk groups. It's a lot simpler. The performance is definitely more unleashed per device. So more devices helps, but you're not necessarily trying to push that quite as much.
Yeah, we had, and certainly we have minimums for our vSAN ready nodes, but those are certainly meant to hit certain performance expectations, and you'll see different numbers of storage devices in those as a minimum. But for the most part, that's really the least of their worries in terms of the overall design of an ESA cluster.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, John and I had a conversation with a gentleman in Vegas who was, and these aren't official numbers for VMware, but he was sharing that he actually had 10x the performance improvements when he moved over to ESA. So, and I do believe that people are so accustomed to the original storage architecture that when they start to think about configuring this, that some of the old habits come into play.
Well, And one thing from that conversation that kind of struck me is he said 10x. I was like, well, I thought we were saying 3x, but then I remembered you're doing a hardware refresh at the same time. So if you're getting 3 times better hardware and it's 3 times faster, effective use of the hardware,
yes,
it's fun.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, you got another one?
I got another one.
Let's hear it.
So there was a lot of interest in how we do space efficiency in the Express Storage architecture. Well, why is this different, and should I expect something better in the Express Storage architecture? And that too is once again a fair question. And I think really for the gap that I was seeing with many of our customers was they weren't understanding that since we perform the compression at a different location in our storage stack, it means that we have to do much less effort to actually compress the data. And that for them means they can run more workloads on fewer hosts. They don't have to factor in this additional amount of overhead that's needed to process this data, simply because we process that data much more efficiently than we ever used to.
Where are we processing it now?
So for compression in the Express Storage architecture, we do it at the very top of the stack. So right when that VM sends those writes to vSAN, it's going to be one of the very first steps that we do, so that then all subsequent IOs are always compressed. And
it's so much smarter.
So then I can push, 8 gigs of write throughput on 4 gigs of networking traffic. Like I'm more efficient on the lower levels also. So
exactly, and we've seen that not only in standard vSAN ESA clusters, but stretch clusters that really rely on that inner side link.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that ISL bandwidth gets it pricey, so that's going to be some kind of savings. No, savings for the networking team who I may not talk to, but savings nonetheless. So.
Nice. Moving along, how many more do you got? What do you got?
Oh, I have a few more. vSAN ready nodes. That's always a question of what can I change? And I admit maybe we had some messaging earlier on that it was a little confusing. We weren't quite sure on what the customers could change or not, but we've really provided a lot of flexibility for our customers now. When you think about it, what's most important is that the hardware is certified for ESA. That's what's most important. The rest of it is a matter of we provide these templates or profiles that help sort of the pre-configuration of a host so that you have a proportionate amount of storage capacity and networking and CPU and RAM there to make it easy. And you can change all of that, really. Now, we have some recommendations on saying, let's not focus on changing one thing to extraordinary levels while, skipping on something else.
Yeah, there was some thought, put into these vSAN ready nodes, right?
Yes, yeah. So that's I think one of the things that I've noticed here just in the recent hours on the number of questions asked about ready nodes.
Interesting.
Yeah, making recommendations to go read that blog you have on emulated ready nodes and, what can I change in ESA? There's been some good content I've seen put out. Yeah,
that's one of the things I think, too, that there was a bit of confusion with our customers is they thought that you needed to purchase a ready node SKU, a single SKU that was the server. And the fact of the matter is we don't care. It's if the hardware is certified from that ready node vendor, then it's fine.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's a guideline. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No one in support is digging up your PO to see how you purchased that DL380.
Was it a single SKU or multiple SKUs? Yeah.
Very nice. All right, one more for me. What do you got?
So the next question is, and this came up a few different times just a few minutes ago, is what about the original storage architecture? What's going on with that? What sort of improvements can we expect?
She's getting lonely.
Yeah, she's getting lonely. It's tough getting older.
Yeah.
And that's the original storage architecture.
She served us well.
It really has. The answer is really that we have certainly no plans to get rid of it in any capacity. But we also need our customers to really understand that the future is ESA. Everything that we're announcing is about the capabilities that is built in to that architecture. It's the foundation of everything.
Yeah, the DRAS, ransomware protection, all of that, it's built into the snapshots, and you can't just backport that.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand why it's just not completely end of life, because there's older hardware that's still out there that's perfectly running. But yeah, it just makes zero sense to me for anybody to be on a new upgrade and choose the original storage architecture. I can't think of a single reason why somebody would want to do that.
No.
Yeah, as of U2, it's largely you're feature complete. You're feature compatible now. Everything that was missing is there now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one final plug, I think that this was also came up here, and just my last AP Expert session was they were asking about vSAN Max, which of course is our brand new, fully disaggregated, centralized storage solution. And the question was, why should I choose this over my traditional storage array? And once again, a very fair, good question. And the answer really lies in we're able to do things that a traditional storage array isn't able to do. And we've unlocked some of those constraints that you had with a traditional storage array. They pair of redundant controllers and an enclosure and a fixed number of shelves, so forth. We're fully scale out, and that really introduces a lot of flexibility for our customers. So.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, so Pete, I know you've got some sessions this week. You've already been busy at those sessions. We're going to leave links at the bottom of this episode in the show notes to Pete's sessions, to the blogs all around vSAN, Express Storage Architecture, and vSAN Max. As always, Pete, my friend, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.